I'm Patrick Pacheco. Coming up on Theater All the Moving Parts, a chat with Justin Stoney, a top voice teacher and vocal coach who believes that singing is the business of miracles. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Theater All the Moving Parts. Justin Stoney is the founder of New York Vocal Coaching and the author of Sing Like Never Before. His work as a voice teacher and vocal coach helped Tony Shalhoub, a professed non-singer, win a Tony Award for leading actor in a musical for the band's visit. As the actor himself would admit, there's hope for us all. Welcome, Justin.
Thank
you.
It
is so good to be with you today.
Thanks for having me.
What is the difference, Justin, between a voice teacher and a vocal coach?
Well, a voice teacher focuses more on the how of singing, whereas a vocal coach works more on performance and polish for recording studio or auditions, things like that. But voice teacher, if you can't hit the high note or you're straining, you're having some sort of vocal problem, that's the person that knows the mechanics, how to fix it.
You often hear people say, I can't carry a tune. I gather that you disagree with that.
100%, absolutely. I've seen people come in where they've been told that they were tone deaf for their entire lives, and you play a little scale and you know, it's a mum, 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 and they try it the first time and it's mum, 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 and it's way off. And then fast forward a year, 2 years, they've been working on their voice, and they can sing really challenging music, and they can start to finally call themselves a singer. I've seen it countless times.
A person that thought he was not a singer and came to you was Tony Shalhoub once he was cast in the band's visit.
Yeah.
How did you make him a singer?
Tony, first of all, is the hardest worker that you could ever find in the industry of performing arts. And with Tony, it was actually easy because he hadn't had a lot of vocal background, but he was willing to work. He came to me with open arms saying, I'll do anything. And I'll practice and I'll do my exercises and I'll every day do whatever it takes. And he has that work ethic that you can really accomplish anything. So Tony, I mean, we did the exercises, we worked on his music, and we got him feeling really confident. But it wasn't hard because of his desire to be a great singer and to really do it.
And his music was a cappella song in Arabic. So did you go to the music first, or did you go to just singing first, just to get him to a general spot first?
We did a lot of vocal exercises because any singer really needs to have the strength, the flexibility, the range, the registration, the agility to feel really confident. So it's almost like going to the gym. So I took Tony to the vocal gym and really showed him, look, you're capable of more than you think as a vocalist. And we stretched him, we strengthened him. And then we went back to the music, and it was a lot easier actually than the vocal exercises. If you exercise and it's pushing you past your boundaries, then you go to that song, it's easier than the exercises.
I know that you came to New York to be an actor from Michigan.
Yeah.
But in fact, sort of stumbled into being a vocal coach, voice teacher.
I did.
What appealed to you about it?
Well, nothing. I said that being a voice teacher was the last thing I would ever do in life. I said, give me anything else besides that. That's the last thing I would want to do. Because I came to New York and I wanted to be an actor, and people back home, they said, well, if it doesn't work out for you, you could always teach. And I said, no. I'm going to do this thing, or else I'm going to do something else.
What qualities make for a good voice teacher?
A servant heart, the desire to help people to grow. and to serve them in that process. I mean, that's the greatest joy for me, is seeing somebody that has a goal, has something that they want to accomplish with their voice, and they don't think they can, and then we see it happen, and I'm a part of that process, and then they get there. You know, anybody that has that desire to see others shine, it could make a good voice teacher.
And what makes a bad voice teacher for those that are probably looking at the marketplace and saying, what do I want in a voice teacher?
A bad voice teacher would be somebody that is in it for maybe more egotistical reasons. They want to show how great they are as a singer, or they want to sort of put others down. So if you're in a lesson and it's very negative and you're getting criticized and you're getting really just a lot of negative feedback all the time and you feel discouraged, that's probably not the right voice teacher for you.
Breathing and breath obviously have a tremendous amount to do with voice.
Yeah.
What is the most common mistakes that singers make when it comes to proper breathing?
Proper breathing, I think you really don't need as much as you think. Mm-hmm. And the biggest mistake that singers make is they think they need a lot. And you see a breath that looks something like this. And they think, I can't hit the high note unless I take this big breath. When really a breath that looks like this is the one that you want.
Just
very natural.
Just very natural.
Yep. It goes low in the body. It's very, very small.
But we're still talking about breathing from the diaphragm.
Absolutely.
Because that expands. There's a song, obviously, on the boards today, Company.
Yeah.
Getting Married Today.
Yep.
Which I think Matt Doyle sings. Uh-huh. It's a rapid fire song.
Yeah.
How does breathing help him carry it over, or anybody? Amy is usually the one who sings it in the traditional way of Company. Yeah. But how does breathing help him get through that rapid fire song that just keeps getting faster and faster and faster?
Well, there's a couple things. You have to, in a case like that, mark up your music like crazy. You've got to find every little lyric and say, this is where I'm going to take a breath, that's where I'm going to take a breath, and really practice and plan so it's not a surprise. You know right where those breaths are. Then you're going to have to make sure that that breath is really efficient. When you have that split second, you're getting it right there, right down in that small little space. So it's really mostly about preparation.
Part of me is everybody there, because if everybody's there, wanna thank you all for coming to the wedding. I'd appreciate your going even more. I mean, you must have lots of better things to do, and not a word of it to Paul. Remember, Paul, you know the man I'm gonna marry, but I'm not, because I wouldn't ruin anyone as wonderful as he is. But I thank you all for the gifts and the flowers. Thank you all. Now it's back to the showers. Don't tell Paul, but I'm not getting married today.
How crucial is breath to avoid losing someone's voice?
Losing one's voice usually comes from other factors, like you have shouted really loud, or you've sung really loud, or you were at a loud event, or you had a food that caused acid reflux for you, or you were sick, or you got a bad night's sleep. Usually those factors are more what causes somebody to lose their voice than their breathing.
And are there psychological components as well? I mean, are you always dealing with people, sort of psychosomatically losing their voices?
I wouldn't say losing their voices, but I'll say this: the singing voice is tied to the inner journey, and you can't separate it. So how you're doing as a person will reflect your voice, and how your voice is going will affect you as a person.
When people do lose their voice, and a singer comes to you and says, I've lost my voice and I can't seem to get it back, how can you help them recover? What do you put them through?
Lots of things. Well, first of all, water, water, water. You've got to stay hydrated.
And that's before, during, and after, just constantly.
Yes, you definitely want to stay hydrated. It's sort of the number one thing you can do for vocal health, but also you want to get a lot of rest, and then you want to do the right kind of vocal exercises. And those usually involve a lot of stretching, things like a or a or even a hum. Those sorts of sounds really stretch out the vocal cords.
What is the role of the nose in good singing?
Well, actually, the nose is misunderstood. Really misunderstood.
I love that.
Yeah, people think don't sing into the nose, it's bad singing, it doesn't sound good. When actually it's great singing, and a lot of the best singers in the world do that all the time. The sound that sounds nasal, like an which is actually called twang, is what people think is nasal. A nice nasal resonance is good for the voice and sounds great. But when people mistake that and they say, oh, nasal, I've got to go, wah, then that's where we have a problem.
Yeah, I see. Because I saw Music Man recently, and I'd forgotten how much Hugh Jackman uses a nasal sound
Yeah.
for his songs.
Yeah, I think he'll probably use a lot of nasal resonance and probably a little twang just to cut across the orchestra and things like that.
Swell. And so's your old man. If so, my friends, you got trouble.
When we're sitting in the audience and we can't hear the lyrics well,
Yeah.
what are the singers doing wrong?
I think that really just comes down to diction. Spending the time to really pronounce the words crisply and clearly, and a lot of times coming from the meaning and the intention of the words.
Does it have to do with connecting emotionally to the lyrics will help the audience understand better?
I think so. I think there's one part just pure diction, like the technical part, and another part really understanding what am I saying and why am I saying it, and where is that coming from in the storytelling.
Is that a large part of what you do, is diction, making sure that the enunciation is clean?
To be honest, I don't do a lot of that because people come to me a lot more for the voice teacher side where they say, I want my high notes to sound so great. I want my mix to be so smooth. I want to sing with vibrato. I want to sing with rasp and distortion. They want to know the how of singing. The diction is something that isn't so challenging actually for many people.
Give us a demonstration of who people out there may not know what vibrato is.
Yeah.
An example of it being too much.
Vibrato is just a movement of pitch up and down. It's as simple as that. So if I hold a note, ah, but then I go, ah, that's vibrato, moving up and down. Now, if I take, I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid, and I go, I can show you the world, it's gonna be a little too much vibrato. So we wanna know when to sprinkle it in there. A more traditional style, like a Carousel or Oklahoma, might use it all the time or much of the time. More pop style, you wanna do it, let's say 30% of the time.
Yes, because in that second version, it almost sounded operatic. It seemed like it's more opera and consequently throws you out of the emotional state that you're probably trying to get to.
Yes, yes.
How can you help your students? And do you think of them as students, clients?
I really see them as peers, which is one of the things that's important to me as a teacher. I don't want to be teaching at people. I don't want to feel like a guru or a know-it-all. I just want to take somebody on their journey and say, what's the next step on the journey and how do we get there?
That's a very good distinction.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about you as a teacher. So how do you help your peers develop a style that is all their own rather than mimicking an established star?
Here's the funny thing. Mimicry is one of the best strategies to finding your own voice.
Oh.
That seems really surprising. But by finding one artist that you can mimic well, then you get good at mimicking. And then let's mimic 5 artists, 10 artists, 20 artists. And then let's borrow from all of these different artists. And then let's spin that through your own experience, your own life, your own way of saying what you have to say. And you've picked up all of these tricks and nuances from all of your favorites. But when it comes through the lens of your own life and experience, it's gonna sound really unique.
Do you spend a lot of time psychoanalyzing your peers?
Well, I'm no psychologist. I mean, every voice teacher has to be a psychologist to a certain extent, but I'm not officially a psychologist. But yes, I do try to get to know what is this person's background, what do they have to say, and how can we get that to come through honestly and authentically when they go to sing a song. And if there's anything blocking that, we have to discover what that is and how do we get past it.
An element of style, I suppose, is phrasing. You know, one hears that Sinatra is great at phrasing.
Yeah.
So what is phrasing, and can you kind of demonstrate how phrasing helps establish a style?
We can phrase from the lyric or we can phrase from the melody. And an example of phrasing from the melody would be something like, let the time go by, I won't care if I can be here on the street, but I won't care if I can be. I Can be, that doesn't make any sense. Time go by, I won't care if I can be here on the street where you live. I can be here. If you phrase from the lyric, you're putting the lyric at the forefront. If you phrase from the melody, you're putting your singing at the forefront. So one of the first things a singer needs to learn is to sing from the lyric and decide which lyric is important, which part of that phrase do I want to bring out.
How do you help your students prepare for an audition?
The best thing to do for an audition is to really be sure of what their expectations are.
Their expectations being your clients or the people that they're auditioning for?
The people that they're auditioning for, the casting team, the director, the producers, because they'll be very specific. We want a 16-bar cut, we want a 32-bar cut, we want a song in this genre, in that genre, we don't want to hear this kind of thing, please don't bring these songs in. They'll give you a character description, and you are trying to present yourself in a way where they can envision you in the part. And so we're trying to find as many elements as far as what you wear, what song you sing, how you present that song, how you present yourself. We're trying to give as many elements that allow them to say, ah, yes, I can see you in that part.
And is it also a process of picking songs that are comfortable as opposed to something that they think, oh, it's this kind of show, I'm going to pick something I may not be comfortable with?
That's right. I never let anybody go to an audition singing something that they're not going to totally own. If there's some note that is like a maybe, you can't do that. You can't do that song, right? If you're going to feel nervous in that audition, that's not the right song. You want to come in there and be sure of yourself. And so even if we have to go a little bit lower, something like this, we want to be really confident.
When you go to a Broadway musical or a musical anywhere, what makes you wince?
What makes me wince? I would say probably when somebody is not connected to what they're saying. That's the biggest thing. Because technique, or you miss a note, you're flat, you crack, something like that, I can forgive that, that we're all human and nobody's voice is perfect. But when somebody is not telling the story and delivering something truthful, then that's where you're a little disappointed, I think.
I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you, among 2 or 3 Broadway musical stars or Broadway singers, who best connects to the lyrics?
I really like Kelly O'Hara.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that makes her so great is she's got the most beautiful voice in the world, but she's always making sure that it's not just about the voice. It's really about telling that story.
Without you, my arms fold about you.
There are, of course, on Broadway, a lot of belters, famous for it. Idina Menzel and Sutton Foster, Leah Michele.
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons of a belter?
Oh, I don't think there's necessarily cons if we do it the right way.
And what is the right way?
Well, the right way is making sure that it's not all about volume and power and just blasting it out. That's the misconception of belting, is it's got to be loud, it's got to be big. And that's a mistake because it doesn't sound as good that way and you don't last as long. You can actually hurt your voice doing that. So if you learn to belt with what we call a mixed voice, it's a little bit lighter, it's more sustainable, it's a little more beautiful, and I don't think there's any cons. Belters that I know that belt like that, you're not going to run out of steam that way.
It's one of the great pleasures of the musical theater. Is when you see somebody that can just belt.
8 shows a week, many years and years.
Anything goes.
Broadway, of course, has broadened into rap and pop music and rock music. What are some of the safeguards or elements that go into being able to handle that and handle that well within the Broadway musical context?
Well, this is where that mimicry is very important because to get any style just right, you have to mimic it well. If you've only sung musical theater and then this is a rock show, you can't sing that rock song like a musical theater singer. You have to sing it like a rocker. And then we also have to understand, like some of those high belty notes with rasp and distortion, a rocker knows how to do that on the microphone so quiet. And it sounds like they're just destroying it, but they're really not. They have the technique down to do that really safely. So a Broadway singer even more has to do that because they're doing 8 shows a week.
And do they also have to bring the Broadway quality to it
Yeah.
so that it's not just what you would hear in a stadium or in a rock club?
It's true. There is a little bit of the theater element that stays, that remains there. And it kind of has to, because theater tells a story in a way that the other genres don't.
When it comes to joy and being able to convey that joy in music,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you counsel your peers to do?
Well, to me, joy and singing go hand in hand. I think of a free voice and somebody that's able to discover their voice in a free and expressive way as finding joy. And when we sort of lose sight of our voice, we lose sight of a part of our joy. I mean, singing to me is a soulful expression. It's something that comes from the soul and something very deep within us. And so I don't try to add joy onto singing. I let singing do the work, if that makes sense.
It's a question of drawing it out
Yep.
of the person.
It's already there, exactly.
Often when people are singing, the face contorts in ways that might be unappealing to look at.
Yeah.
How do you advise your students, peers,
Yeah.
how to sing, hit the notes that
Yeah.
they want to hit,
Yeah.
and yet maintain a face that conveys the character or remains pleasant to look at?
It's a great question. Well, part of the training that I do when we do vocal exercises and things like that is a neutral face. We learn to go top to bottom, totally neutral. So you're not relying on some crazy face to hit the note. So that's in the training. But then I suppose you can make a crazy face if the character calls for it, right? So we go with that neutral palette, that clean slate, and then they can add things onto it from there.
You have described your profession as being in the business of miracles.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
Well, I think of the voice as a miracle, and I think of the way that I see the inner journey and the voice being merged. You can't separate those two things. I have seen time and time again people working on their voice, and then suddenly something magical happens for them in their life. They take on a new confidence, or new opportunities open up for them, and they say it was because of the singing. And then on the flip side, as people work on themselves and they grow as people, suddenly they say, I never thought I'd be able to hit that note. And it's because of all this positive growth that I've been making in my personal life. So just on a daily basis, I see people finding these inner growths and these vocal growths and the coupling of that. And to me, that is miraculous.
As singers age, and I think Barbara Cook was a good example of this, that into her 70s, into her 80s, that voice
Yeah.
maintained
Yes.
a certain purity.
Well, maybe next year.
How does a singer manage to do that?
The voice can indeed age like a fine wine. If you treat your body and you treat your voice well, I've had clients in their 90s before, and they sound just awesome. But it's the people who really take the time to care for their voice and continue to do vocal exercises. There was a soprano named Evelyn Reynolds in New York. She was a voice teacher. She sang till age 100 and was still giving concerts and was so beautiful. And I believe she died teaching voice. And the day she died, at age 100, died teaching voice. And I had One of my mentors, David Jones, used to say, voice teachers don't die. They ascend from the piano bench. And I think with Evelyn, that was true. But point is, there's so much evidence of Barbara Cook and others singing age 90, age 100, and still singing well. It really is about how you care for yourself.
Is that the way you'd like to go out, ascending?
I do think so. That would be the best, to ascend from the piano bench. What could be better than that?
We have to wrap up, but
Okay.
you've been doing this at least on the internet for 10 years. You have videos on the internet people can go to.
Yes.
How has the business changed? How has your profession changed?
Changed hugely. I started doing the videos 10 years ago, but I started teaching in New York 17 years ago. And when I started 17 years ago, nobody wanted to tell anybody anything. It was all very private. And, well, I'm not going to share my methods. You have to come and find out for yourself. I'm not going to give you anything until you come and pay me a lot of money. I started off differently. I said, I don't like that. When I'm a teacher, I'm going to start giving right from the get-go. And the show that I did 10 years ago, we just have our 10-year anniversary in a couple weeks, was all about giving and sharing and giving and sharing. Now in the industry, you see so many more people saying, let me give this class, let me do this talk, let me share this content, let me be a part of this organization. Let's be a community. Let's not be these separate voice teachers that say, well, this is the best method, but you're not going to know it until you come into my world. It's just much more collaborative and open, and I think that's very positive.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We'll end on that note of collaboration and community.
Yes.
And congratulations on all you've done in the past 17 years.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us. We'll be back next month with another look at the expert and singular professionals who are helping theater, that fabulous invalid, regain its invaluable place in American culture. I'm Patrick Pacheco.